She stares at her phone like it holds oxygen. The last message was 3 hours ago, maybe 4. He's online but not replying. Her stomach twists. Anger, confusion, then the quiet shame of wanting someone who doesn't seem to care. She tells herself she's done, but the moment his name flashes on the screen, her heart betrays her. One text, and the entire storm disappears. I used to think that was love. The pull, the ache, the waiting. But it's not love. It's addiction disguised as desire, because nothing is more intoxicating than someone who gives you just enough to keep you hoping. What changed everything for me was understanding the chemistry beneath the chaos, why indifference feels magnetic, why rejection feels romantic, and why the ones who ignore us often control us the most. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why and how to break it. Number 1. The biology of uncertainty. There's a reason why uncertainty feels electric. It's not drama, it's dopamine. When someone gives you attention inconsistently, your brain starts to release tiny hits of reward each time they respond. But here's the catch. The rewards don't come predictably, so your brain stays alert, waiting, scanning, craving. It's the same chemical loop that keeps gamblers glued to slot machines. Not the winning, but the maybe. I once watched a friend go through this cycle. Every time he texted her, she lit up. Every time he disappeared, she spiraled. The moment he reappeared, all logic vanished. It wasn't him she wanted anymore. It was the high of the comeback. That small rush of being chosen again after silence hit stronger than any consistent affection ever could. What most people don't realize is that uncertainty doesn't just affect emotion, it rewires desire. Predictable love feels safe, but safety doesn't trigger the same chemical intensity. Inconsistency, on the other hand, keeps your brain hooked in anticipation, constantly wondering what happens next. This is why people confuse anxiety for passion. Their body's in a stress response, but the adrenaline feels like excitement. It's biology masquerading as chemistry, and the more unpredictable he is, the stronger the addiction becomes. The tragedy is that stability can't compete with chaos on a chemical level, at least not at first. But peace doesn't spike dopamine, it restores it. It's calm, not empty. And when you start craving calm instead of uncertainty, that's when the addiction finally begins to die. Number 2. The scarcity trap. Human desire is built on one cruel equation. We want what's scarce and undervalue what's constant. When someone pulls away, they instantly become more valuable in your mind. Not because they changed, but because their attention became limited. It's basic economics of emotion. Abundance feels cheap, scarcity feels sacred. I saw this play out with a friend who swore she wasn't obsessed. He's just busy, she'd tell me, scrolling through his social media to see if he'd posted anything new. But deep down, she didn't want him to reply immediately. She wanted him to choose her after ignoring her. That's the psychology of scarcity. We mistake selective attention for genuine value. What most people don't understand is that scarcity doesn't create love. It creates inflation. It makes something ordinary seem extraordinary simply because it's hard to get. It tricks you into thinking, if I can just earn it, it'll mean more. But that's the lie. Real love doesn't need to be earned. The men who ignore often understand this dynamic, consciously or not. Their distance creates demand. The less available they are, the more they seem worth chasing. And once a woman starts competing for something she already had, she's no longer in love. She's in survival mode. Scarcity makes affection feel like achievement, and that's why it's addictive. The brain equates rare with valuable, even when it's just inconsistency wearing a disguise. But here's the truth. Something that only feels special when it's withheld was never special to begin with. Once you stop confusing difficulty with depth, you stop mistaking scarcity for love, and you finally start choosing what's real over what's rare. Number 3. The ego hook. When someone ignores you, it doesn't just hurt your feelings, it wounds your ego. That's what turns attraction into obsession. You stop chasing the person and start chasing the version of yourself that could win them. It's no longer about connection, it's about redemption. The brain frames rejection as a challenge to solve, not a message to accept. I remember watching a woman spiral after being ghosted by a man she barely knew. It wasn't love, they'd only gone out twice, but she couldn't stop thinking about him. Why didn't he want me? She kept asking. What she really meant was, what does his silence say about me? That's the ego hook. It's personal, even when it's not. Every time someone pulls away, your mind starts writing a story to explain it. Maybe he's busy, maybe he's testing me, maybe I did something wrong. The story becomes the obsession. You're not addicted to him. You're addicted to rewriting the ending in your favour. This is why being ignored hurts more than being rejected outright. Rejection gives closure, but silence leaves possibility. And possibility keeps your ego alive. The cruel truth is that the more you try to earn someone's interest, the more you teach your mind that their approval defines your value. That's how emotional dependence forms, through effort that never gets rewarded. The only way to break the ego hook is to let the unanswered question remain unanswered. The moment you stop trying to prove your worth to someone who can't see it, you reclaim the part of yourself that forgot it didn't need to. Number 4. The power dynamic illusion. In every relationship where one person withdraws and the other chases, power quietly shifts. The one who cares less always sets the terms. The one who waits lives in emotional debt. When a man ignores a woman, it creates an illusion of control, as if his silence is authority. But most of the time, it's not control. It's detachment disguised as dominance. I remember hearing someone say, "He must know what he's doing to me." But often, he doesn't. He's just protecting his comfort while she's surrendering hers. That's the imbalance. The person who holds back becomes the measure of worth, and the one who gives becomes the source of shame. Psychologically, attention equals currency. The less he gives, the more valuable it feels. She starts rationing her own self-respect, spending it piece by piece for another small dose of recognition. The tragedy is she's not powerless. She's just convinced she is. Power in relationships isn't about who talks less or texts last. It's about who has self-control. And when your emotions hinge on someone else's behaviour, you've already handed over the keys. Here's the illusion. Being ignored doesn't mean he's strong. It just means he's indifferent. Real strength isn't in withholding affection. It's in being emotionally grounded enough not to weaponize it. Once you understand that silence isn't superiority, you stop feeling smaller for caring more. And that's when the dynamic flips. Because the moment you stop chasing attention, you become the one who defines the game. Number 5. The trauma connection. The hardest truth to accept is that not all attraction is healthy. Sometimes what feels like chemistry is actually recognition. Your nervous system recognizing a pattern it already knows. For many, being drawn to distant, unpredictable people isn't random, it's repetition. It's the emotional echo of old wounds disguised as love. I once talked to someone who said, "I don't know why I always fall for unavailable men." But deep down, she did know. Growing up, love had always been inconsistent, sometimes warm, sometimes cold. Her brain learned that love required earning, proving, waiting. So when she met someone who treated her the same way, it didn't feel wrong, it felt familiar. That's the dangerous comfort of emotional chaos. It feels like home. Your body isn't addicted to the person, it's addicted to the feeling of trying to win love that never feels secure. What makes this cycle so painful is that it reinforces itself. Every time he withdraws, your anxiety spikes. When he returns, relief floods your system, confirming that the waiting was worth it. That emotional rollercoaster becomes the definition of intimacy, even though it's just stress disguised as desire. Healing begins the moment you stop mistaking adrenaline for love. You can't rewrite your past, but you can refuse to repeat it. Real connection shouldn't make you anxious. It should make you feel safe, not addicted to the chase, but at peace in the calm. Number 6. The dopamine withdrawal. When you finally pull away from a man who ignores you, it doesn't feel like freedom at first. It feels like withdrawal. The silence that once tortured you becomes even louder. Your brain, accustomed to the highs and lows of emotional chaos, suddenly has nothing to feed on. You miss the rush more than the person. That's what addiction does. It tricks you into craving the pain that broke you. I've seen women swear they're done, delete his number, block him everywhere, and still dream about him. Not because he was special, but because he was unpredictable. Their bodies were trained to respond to inconsistency like a drug. The moment that inconsistency disappeared, their systems panicked. This is the part no one talks about. Healing feels boring at first. Peace feels empty. Stability feels foreign. Your nervous system has to relearn what calm feels like, and it doesn't happen overnight. You'll want to reach out, Not because you love him, but because you miss the intensity. But here's the truth. That intensity wasn't love. It was cortisol, the stress hormone that kept your heart racing, your mind spinning, your emotions burning. The longer you stay away, the quieter it gets. The quieter it gets, the clearer you become. And one day, you'll wake up and realize it's not that you stopped loving him, you just stopped needing the chaos to feel alive. Number 7. Why kind men feel boring. After surviving emotional chaos, healthy love feels dull. You meet a kind man who texts back, makes plans, means what he says, and your first thought isn't gratitude, it's indifference. You tell yourself there's no spark, but that spark you miss. It was anxiety. That chemistry was your nervous system mistaking instability for passion. A woman once told me, "He's too nice. I need someone with edge." What she really meant was, I'm not used to safety. Because when you've been conditioned to equate uncertainty with excitement, consistency feels lifeless. The dopamine rush is gone, replaced by steadiness, and your brain hasn't learned how to find joy in calm. Kindness doesn't trigger the same chemical fireworks because it doesn't threaten you. It doesn't activate fear or insecurity. It's stable, not stimulating. And for someone used to volatility, that stability feels almost unbearable. The irony is that the men women call boring are often the ones who could actually heal them. But healing isn't seductive, it's slow. It demands patience, presence, and the willingness to be still after living in the emotional turbulence. The shift happens when you stop chasing the thrill and start craving peace. When you realize that love isn't supposed to feel like adrenaline. It's supposed to feel like exhale. And once your nervous system learns that safety isn't boredom, you'll never confuse chaos with connection again. Number 8. The mirror effect. Every relationship you chase reflects something you haven't faced. That's the mirror effect. The truth that people don't just attract what they want, they attract what they believe they deserve. When a woman keeps falling for men who ignore her, it's not about them. It's about her relationship with her own reflection. I once asked someone why she stayed with a man who made her feel invisible. She said, "Because when he finally looks at me, I feel real again." That line shattered me, because it wasn't about love, it was about validation. His attention wasn't affection, it was proof of existence. That's the mirror. His indifference mirrored her own self-neglect. Most people think attraction happens between two individuals, but it actually happens between two wounds. The one who avoids love finds the one who chases it. The one who fears abandonment finds the one who runs. Until you heal the part of you that's drawn to being unseen, you'll keep finding people who confirm it. The mirror isn't cruel, it's revealing. It shows you where you've abandoned yourself. It shows you how you treat your own worth. The moment you stop accepting breadcrumbs from others, you stop starving yourself emotionally. Because once you truly see your own value, indifference doesn't look mysterious anymore. It looks small. Number 9. Breaking the cycle. Breaking the addiction to being ignored isn't about learning how to get attention. It's about learning how to live without needing it. The first step is radical awareness, catching yourself in the loop before it tightens. The second step is discomfort, choosing not to chase even when every nerve in your body screams to. That's where freedom begins. It's not about becoming cold or detached, it's about becoming whole. You start by replacing attention with self-respect, obsession with presence, reaction with reflection. You learn to sit in silence without trying to fill it. That's when your nervous system recalibrates, your emotions stabilize, and your worth stops being something you negotiate. Here's what most people miss. Healing doesn't make you invincible, it just makes you discerning. You'll still feel attraction, but it won't control you. You'll still feel desire, but it won't destroy you. The same men who once triggered your obsession will start to feel emotionally irrelevant, not because you've become colder, but because you've become clearer. Real love doesn't require you to shrink. It doesn't punish your warmth or manipulate your hope. It meets you where you are and stays there. The cycle ends when you stop needing love to prove your worth and start using your worth to define what love means. Number 10. The freedom of indifference. There's a kind of peace that feels almost unnatural at first. The kind that comes when you stop reacting. When a message doesn't arrive, and you don't spiral, when someone pulls away and you don't chase, when silence feels like space instead of punishment. That's the beginning of real freedom, the freedom of indifference. Indifference isn't coldness, it's clarity. It's what happens when your self-worth stops depending on anyone else's participation. You stop measuring your value by who texts you back, who compliments you, or who notices your absence. You stop trying to control outcomes that were never yours to control. I remember the first time I didn't flinch when someone I cared about went distant. My body waited for the panic, but it never came. In that moment, I realized indifference isn't the absence of feeling. It's the presence of self-respect. When you no longer need to be chosen to feel significant, the power shifts permanently. The people who used to trigger your insecurity lose their influence. The situations that once made you crumble now feel irrelevant. That's when you know you're free, not because you stopped caring about love, but because you stopped confusing attention with it. The freedom of indifference isn't about building walls, it's about building standards, the kind that remind you nothing real requires you to beg. By now you understand why the ones who ignore you feel magnetic. It's not mystery, it's chemistry. It's not love, it's scarcity, ego, and biology tangled together. But once you see it clearly, the spell breaks. You can't unlearn the truth. Here's the reality. The people who play hot and cold don't hold the power. Your reaction does. Every time you choose silence over chasing, calm over chaos, you reclaim a piece of yourself you didn't realize you'd given away. That's how addiction ends, not in one dramatic moment, but in 1,000 small acts of self-respect. 5 years from now, you could still be waiting for someone to see your worth, or you could be living a life that never needed proving. You could still crave the thrill of being noticed, or you could finally rest in the peace of being enough. You'll know you've healed when you stop hoping they'll reach out, and start realizing you don't care if they do. Because that's what freedom sounds like. Quiet, unbothered, unavailable to anything that drains you. The truth is simple but brutal. Love doesn't hurt when it's healthy. It doesn't punish you for caring. It doesn't disappear to keep you chasing. So now it's your choice. Keep craving the rush of being ignored, or choose the peace of being free. Comment below. What's harder for you? Letting go of chaos or learning to trust calm? Your choice, your peace. Start now.